And for input, it's much easier, like using the phone service. There's no lag, nothing, and it connects to your. We'll still use we can use the phone audio for this video, and that way, if somebody has a question, you can pass them the phone, and that way, the person who's on the other side hears it perfectly. There's no issue for the person hearing it. Still means when they speak, it will come out through the speaker.
So how do we hook it up to the phone?
Okay, so you go like this. I mean, you could do, or just if it's worked for you, do it this way. It's fine. If it's worked, okay. And then you want to put the video that way. Do you want to switch it around so they can see you?
See the audience also.
Or do you want my camera so that your camera? Do you have a plug-in camera, or do you want to use mine? Okay, we should purchase.
I buy this off of Amazon to get a laptop.
Sorry.
I just bought this to have a laptop. This laptop.
Okay, so we should also purchase a thing. I'll give you mine for today.
Great.
I'll bring it here to plug in, and we could just flip it that way. So you have a high quality camera.
That's great.
And then perfect. We're good.
That's great. That would be great.
Okay, awesome. I'll be right back.
Okay, great.
You have no
Because we were looking for a camera because we want to record it because Hillary has said that I have to ask the rabbi if it's okay.
But it'll be a recording through Solomon.
I know. But,
a recording through Zoom still.
Yes, but it would be, there's people who want to put pro-Jewish, pro-Israel things on platforms that don't have it.
You're bleeding through.
Again?
Yeah, we need to bandage that better.
Whoa.
We need to bandage that better.
There's a
Let's Steve.
Oh,
Could you just help Marlene, please, for a minute? She has a little cut and it's bleeding through.
Bleeding through a Band-Aid.
If you could just help bandage that better, that would be great. Marlene, see what's the picture. Okay. Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Sarah. So we'll have a camera going out to the audience. That would be good.
We'll get this together, Amy, you and I. Don't worry.
Story about him. We just went a little
Okay.
Just two different ones. And I'll do a second one. I'm just gonna make the.
Oh, you heard my voice note?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have the car on file? Oh, wow. You have his car?
Kind of checking now.
Okay, and did you hear about the expert? I think that we should be running it. We should test schools. Why don't you think that's a good place?
I don't think it goes. Whatever. We'll talk.
Very prestigious school.
Yeah. I just this word, Mr. Rabbi. I'm sorry. We can't talk about anything. I don't know what. We do anything else?
What?
Yeah, we're
Right, who's running it?
Amy, Marlene, there's a computer that needs a camera. I can't discuss anything else right now.
I get it. I'm sorry. I'll bring it up another time.
I'm making jokes.
I'm good. Hi, Marlene. You injured yourself?
Yeah. Rabbi, we don't have workers' comp.
Yeah, J-Back has one more stuff.
Oh, J-Back. Let's take a picture of Ice and Harris. J-Back in action.
Yeah, Band-Aid's pretty much my specialty.
Okay, I'm
Rabbi, we'll discuss. I have some thoughts,
I
okay?
love cleaning all that.
Right.
Thank you.
Cleaning up the side.
Okay. All right. It's okay.
Um,
Takes a team.
Did at least do that, I'll bring my next card. I'll
Okay. All right. You know, I don't know why.
Yeah, the budget is.
Now. Now, how can we buy that?
No, this is, I'm gonna leave it for Amy. This will be Amy's one.
This will be what?
Amy's one. This will be for
Oh,
Amy.
Amy? Oh, okay.
I'm saying this will be for you guys, whatever, whoever needs it.
That's great.
One
That's
second.
awesome.
High quality camera. Give me a minute. I'll open it up.
That's awesome. That's terrific. Thank you for your help.
Sure, of course. Of course. 1 second. If I could remember how this thing. Yeah, but what's it called, right? USB in here? Yeah, Dr. Beck.
Don't go for anything. He left. Question.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. Oh my God, Sarah, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. You'll decide
They're
how.
all high tech now, Amy. Good.
Okay. This is like a way that it's supposed to. I know from the big computers. I'm trying to wrap a laptop. The best way to do this is.
Yeah, it would be
I
like
can see
upside
it's like.
down, right?
Yeah. It already clicks on. I'm trying to remember how this part works.
Go. Oh, right. I tried to do that and then somebody told me Claire told me my hand was bleeding. That going towards us versus.
No, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to hold this thing, and then I can figure it out on the other side. So now that, that's the way it holds. So let's see how it can hold here.
I have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm like double whatever I need. So where should we, I'll leave it in the refrigerator afterwards.
Yeah, I guess so. More food, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's
wow.
all the petit fours and
Wow.
the fruit. There's one whole fruit platter we haven't even opened up.
And there were bagels from lunch.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why is this not? Let's see what's going on here. What's up with her computer now? There we go. Okay, we're good. Okay.
That's great. And then when people have to ask questions,
You could use the microphone like you usually do, whatever you prefer.
is the microphone working? I found this, but I don't know whatever. Does this get plugged in anywhere so that we can,
Oh, talk. I think it's working.
how do we, hello?
No, that's what. Is that what's working?
This is what's
Let's use this. This is right.
Okay.
This is fabulous because the main person who's
You can use this, and then everybody else.
Okay. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. You'll be at the chat.
So this will stay with you, Marlene. Turn it off because you don't want to have it on what's supporting all the time. Not that on you.
Well, actually, because Nira's gonna be talking too.
Yeah, but who's doing the interview?
There's
Who's
no
welcoming
interview.
her?
I'm going to be welcoming her, but I'm also going to be passing information on to Nira to tell everybody.
Okay, so when you pass her, you'll give it.
Okay.
I took it off for now, so that it's not.
Okay, all right. Okay, and are we all set? Did you test with Claire? Should she call in on the Zoom?
She should log in with the link that I sent her so
All right,
that
so
we can
hopefully
see
she
her.
does, so we set it up as her as the speaker on the Zoom?
Well,
She needs to join to be able to be seen
All right, so
by
should we
everybody.
call her and tell her to?
Marlene,
I mean, we
I'm
could.
removing your evidence from the crime scene.
Oh, no, look at that.
Oh my God, that was like a mess, wasn't it?
You okay now?
Yeah, I'm fine. As long as it didn't get on my outfit, that's all I care about.
Oh, Marlene, we have adorable pictures of you from last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I need to get them to. They're magnets.
All right.
You see who else is here last night? Let me get it for you.
Hi, how are you? Hey, do you want to join the meeting so we can make, no one's here. Yeah, just so we can make sure that we're connected and it's all good. You don't have to like sit there in front of the thing forever until it starts. But whenever you want to, just so that. That's fine. Yeah, do it whenever you need to do it. I just wanted to touch base with you and let you know. Oh, absolutely. You're welcome. Okay, no problem. We're here. Yeah, no one's showed up yet, so don't think that we're rushing you. Okay, you're welcome. All right, bye.
War in Gaza, which marked a week of intense fighting. And just then God held us and just yeah, yes, it's October 7th, Israel. Is that your
Oh, this is. Did I catch up something?
Hi, it's Lauren. Good to see you. You have this musical weapon. You have to make sure that these people don't pop into the picture while she's talking, because it happened every time. The people are popping up, yeah, up there, you see?
Yeah, I'm sure that we can go ahead and do it so that it is,
Yeah.
so that we don't see them in the picture, is that?
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. Every time they all of a sudden pop up in past, now we have to. We have to go for some dates.
What?
Yeah, we could.
Mute all. Give me like mute all.
Instead it's spraying everybody, and then it's spraying. I put it in our WhatsApp, so you're not.
Right. Perfect.
So if it's time later, I'll show you. And you were saying this is a panic?
Now, how do I get it back to where it was?
What?
I don't want to, I want this to
This
be
is,
big.
it is you have to do it towards the screen on how it's set up. You know, the thing in the corner or something, in terms of getting it gallery. You have the main speaker. There's a gallery thing. Is it that, or is that the Microsoft?
That is part of my computer.
Okay, so forget that. It is part of participants. I can't. I have it on mine where you can go ahead and do what's more. No.
Settings.
Share screen. How about the share screen thing? See myself and active speaker. How's that?
Better.
Okay. And then how about what is?
She hasn't signed on yet.
Well, we have to call her up and ask her what she has to
No,
say.
I called her and she said she was going to in a couple of seconds.
Okay.
Oh, Claire Lopez, here she is.
Okay, we have to just make sure we bring them in. And put her as the host or a host.
Want to continue to doing these things for the holidays?
Sure, I'm gonna be here.
Okay, because I'm not gonna be here.
Okay.
So I'm leaving, so this is next December 20th, the last time that I'm doing.
Well, then we have the holidays. Nobody's gonna.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah, no, we'll be here, no.
Okay, so when I make the announcement that next Wednesday, it's gonna be our last session, for this year, and next year we'll start and work with only once a month. I mean, we'll continue with the WhatsApp, but I think that because now we get put into the next phase of the work.
Okay. Okay, fine.
And so, and we will let people know.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay,
That sounds great.
same time, same day, but the question is.
How do I make her big and not us?
Make her as Claire as
She is the
more.
she is the host. I made her
It
the
has to
host.
be, you have to figure out in terms of the,
You have to switch it around.
to the share screen, is that it? again?
No.
Well.
Gallery view, that's it, gallery view, that's it, there,
Bigger.
there. Then you put Claire as the,
Extra microphone just in case.
I have this. No,
Okay, so no, as long as this one's working, it's fine.
you,
Hi, Claire.
hide night video participants, right? There we go, wait.
That is safe, you know.
Oh, with that, you, no, back to meeting. Claire Lopez is the host, right?
I made her the host,
Yeah. But she should be bigger.
but I don't want these people on here. I don't want these people here. Can she?
I think she can hear us.
Now she can.
Ask her if she can hear us.
Do you have
Yeah,
something
I
that
can hear
says
you.
hide thumbnail video?
Yeah, I can hear you all, and I should not be the host. You're the host. However that works. Whoever's in charge of the screen there, that you're the host.
All right.
Okay, so put us as the host. Palm Beach Synagogue is the host.
Yeah.
Reclaim host. Okay. All right.
Now,
Share screen.
now, if I hit share screen, it goes to a
No,
whole
we
different
want her to
screen.
fill the entire screen. We don't want all these people around. Where is Sarah? Is Sarah still here?
I think we should just drop it. Steve, do you know how to work the video so that it gets?
Where is Sarah? Can I get Sarah?
I'm trying to call her. She's on another call and not answering. So how do we
This
get?
looks fine to me, actually. This looks good.
Okay, so then let's just do this, all right?
It looks fine.
They don't think that they're on television. They're gonna get up, they're gonna start eating, it would look very distracting. I know, but they make this, because look, you're surrounded by people.
Yeah, I want to see all the people's faces. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
You
all
do?
right, so, okay, all right, okay,
All right.
all right.
All right.
That's fine. No, this looks good. It looks very good.
Okay.
Let's make sure nobody's sleeping.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome everybody here.
That's okay. I think I'm gonna sit closer.
I'll just put this closer.
What do you need?
I'd like to thank everybody here for coming today to the Palm Beach Synagogue Israel Project War Victory. And today we have a program we're very excited about to have with us today, Clare Lopez, who is an internationally renowned speaker on security issues, not only here in the States, but globally also. She worked with the CIA. But before we get into the discussion, which it will be an hour, an hour discussion, and we will have her talk
to the topic of taking the offensive on the false Islamophobia narrative and anti-Semitism. But she'll talk for half an hour and then we'll leave it open for half an hour of questions and answers. And before we start, I just want to take care of some housekeeping issues. As we always say, this will only be an hour program. Well, we're starting now and we're going to end at 2 o'clock. We welcome anybody to sit up closer over here in the chairs over here so that Claire will be able to see you. And I wanted to just tell everybody that we have the Tehillim prayer book that will be coming out this Saturday. So everybody will hopefully see that in shul when they come. And we have some information that Nira, our person who is in charge of information, would like to share at this time also.
First of all, hello Claire, good to see you again. Ken sends his regards, he couldn't be here today, he's in Denver, but I will let him know what happened here. We're looking forward to a wonderful presentation. I just wanted to update you on some of the things that are going to happen with our war room. So next Wednesday, December 20th, we're going to have our last session before the new year. It's going to be in person, right here, with two excellent people from Jerusalem, from the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs. One of them is going to be Khaled Abu Tomei and Dan Diker, and they're going to be here together here in person. And it's going to be a very exciting panel. They have a lot of news to bring from Jerusalem. And so this is next Wednesday, same place, same time. And that's going to be our last. What's going to happen after the first of the year is, now that we are in the sort of, in Hebrew, you call it in the routine of war. It doesn't mean routine, but now that we are in the war, we are going to change somewhat the scheduling. Instead of meeting once a week, we will meet once a month. It's still going to be Wednesday, 1 to 2, but we will have to decide which week of the month it's going to be, but we will let you know in advance. But we're going to, since everybody is traveling during for the next 2 or 3 weeks, after next Wednesday, we're going to stop for 2 weeks or so, and then we will let everybody know when the next session will be. Also, I would like to mention that very similar to what we're doing here, we're doing in Boca West this coming Sunday from 11 to 1. That group is called Citizens for National Security, and you're going to have Trevor Loudon give a very important presentation. He's sort of the expert on the infiltrations of the Muslim Brotherhood and the communists into every arm of the American government, education, entertainment, and so forth. So he's going to do an update. So if you're interested in joining us there in Boca West this coming Sunday at 11 o'clock, see me later. I'll give you the details. So other than that, I think we also have. Oh, of course, Lauren is here, and Lauren, you did you disturb it too much? We'll disturb her material. This weekend she's overlapping with us. Usually we try to coordinate. So, but this Sunday she's also having a very exciting program. She has wonderful programs. So are you letting people comment halfway through yours? Because we're over you go to like 1:30, right? Yeah, we're 11 to 1. Yeah. But in any event, I think this is all the housekeeping that we have. If anyone has any questions, we will entertain them after we finish this exciting session. We cannot wait to hear Clare Lopez.
Actually, I have one last thing. We may not be having the war room in person, but the WhatsApp chat that we have will be going on a daily basis. And, for the Project Victory during that time, the chat room.
Yeah, the chat room.
So that will continue, so that, and people find, and I don't know if everybody signed up for it, but it is a repository with information that we find globally and across the United States. So you don't have to look at it every day, but you can go ahead and look at it and see all the things that we have gathered. And the people that are on it are very excited that they can go to one repository and see all the information, and some of the information does not come across their screen. So with that, I am going to, because the main person right now is Clare Lopez, and I'm going to give the stage over to this wonderful authority on so many things, and take it away, Clare.
All right, well, thank you so much. Thank all of you there in the room, and everybody who is joining us by Zoom online. Thanks especially to those who arranged this and made it possible. Of course, Ken Abramowitz, and thank you, Amy, for all of your help in setting up the logistics and the connections and everything. Very glad as well to see Irene and Janet again, where we last met at the last week's EMET annual Rays of Light awards dinner, which was fabulous. Okay, the camera is fine as far as I'm concerned. I can see everybody in the room in the audience, so that's good. So this topic could not be more important at this point in time, as you all are well aware. Let me begin by just giving you a little bit of brand new information that I only just saw this morning. It's horrific, on top of everything else that's horrific going before it. But the news has just come out. I saw it at the Times of Israel publication, that in the very early hours of the October 7 Shabbat massacre, Hamas used some kind of poison toxic gas to kill IDF soldiers who were part of a surveillance unit very close to the border with Gaza. I want to mention that I work with Tom Trento at the United West. That website, I can put it in the chat, but theunitedwest.com or .org, because either one will take you there. Here, let me put it in the chat. Okay, so theunitedwest.com or .org. We have been recording, the team at the United West, we've been recording little short videos because I know that that's the easiest and the quickest way to get information out to folks. And those little short videos are topical, about news of the day like this. I'm going to record a short video. When I say short, I mean, about 2 minutes or maybe even less, about this new report. But it's horrific. It's the first time, that Jews have been killed and attacked with poison gas since the Nazis in the Shoah. And so I thought that might be important to bring up this morning. I won't go through, everything that's happened. I know that you're very well aware of everything that went on October the 7th. But more, this time, I was talking with Marlene, of course, and the others, about giving you some background information, maybe tips that you can use, that you can incorporate into discussions with friends, with family, with those whose ears are open. They want to listen, they want to learn and hear, but they maybe just don't have all this information. I think of this often as kind of a campaign of triage, right? So, those who already get it, like you guys, they're probably going to be okay, even if they don't have every single bit of information. They're going to be fine, vaya con Dios. But those whose ears are really closed, their minds are closed, they do not want to hear, do not want to listen, I would say, let's not bang our heads against a brick wall. We're not going to get through to those folks. But in the middle are a lot of people who really want to hear more, or at least they're open to hear more. And those, I think, are our targets. Those are the people that we should spend time with, sharing some of these tips and tidbits that I'm going to share with you today. So I also promised Marlene that I would come up with a one-page sort of a bullet summary of everything I'll talk about today, and maybe a page of resources too. I haven't gotten to produce that yet, but either by the next couple of days, certainly over the weekend, I will make that list up and get it to you so that it can be maybe a kind of a resource for you. Because today I've got notes, but it's around 6 pages long. But I promise I won't go over a half an hour anyway. So I'll minimize this. I'll trim it down to get it to a one-pager for you all, and get that into your hands by the weekend in any case. So let me start with, where are the roots of this conflict? It is Islam versus the Jews, since time immemorial, going on 1400 years. And some of us have taken to calling this the enemy that confronts us both, whether Jewish, Christian, or some other denomination, but not necessarily church going, synagogue going, Jewish or Christian, Western civilization, let's put it that way, which is Judeo-Christian based, of course, versus what we call the red-green axis. Red for communism, Marxism, green for Islam. Now, Western leftists, who all too often fall on the wrong side of this ledger, if you will, repeatedly claim, oh, this has nothing to do with Islam. It's all about land. Well, I'm sure you know, we all know, no, it's not about the land. But the red-green axis that I'm going to talk about brings Marxism, communism, and Islam together. You might think, and it is, an odd alliance, ideologically speaking, but both of these hate Judeo-Christian based Western civilization and want to destroy it, and both are authoritarian, totalitarian, tyrannical ideologies that seek to crush human liberty and the human spirit. So let's begin with the communism Marxism side of this. Obviously, as I said, these are different ideologies from Islam, but on the communism Marxism side, they seek the same nihilistic, liberty-crushing tyranny of elites. It's not for the masses. It's not for the proletariat. It's for the elites that hate Judeo-Christian civilization for its ethos of morality. That's at the basis of it. Now, Marxism invaded US academia around the 1920s and 30s. I'm sure you'll all have heard of the Frankfurt School that was basically kicked out of Germany in those years, those decades, because of the rise of Nazism, which essentially kicked communism, Marxism out of Germany. Not entirely, but in the main. And that's when the Frankfurt School found a new safe haven home, a foothold, if you will, in America, at Columbia University in New York. And from there, it spread throughout the leftist, left-wing academic faculty lounges, and then to the rest of US society, to entertainment, media, government, industry, all co-opted by today, including not just Moscow, but the Chinese Communist Party, by money and other blandishments, and the world of sports have seen conquered too. Now, what are the evidence of this? What do we see in our schools? The evidence: critical race theory, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, woke ideology on full display in front of Congress this past week. under questioning by Representative Elise Stefanik. I'm sure you'll all have seen at least clips of that exchange with those three very woke presidents of Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, and MIT. University of Pennsylvania president, of course, now resigned. One down, two to go. But what we're viewing there, what we're seeing on display, saw in Congress, seeing in academia across America, are Marxist tactics to divide society today along race and gender lines. The economic proletariat versus bourgeoisie doesn't work in a free market capitalist system in the United States. Too much upward mobility opportunity. And so a long time ago, that division moved from an economic one to a racist one. And under that dichotomy, under that division, Jews, completely erroneously, of course, are put in the category of white oppressor versus the poor, downtrodden, oppressed of the Arab Muslims of the region of the Middle East around Israel. That's how this happens. That is how Marxism, that is how the red part of this has seized control of the narrative on that side and throughout academia. Okay, let's look now at Islamic Jew hatred, which of course begins with Muhammad in the 7th century and is found throughout the Islamic canon, meaning the Quran, the Hadiths, the Sirah, that's the biography of Muhammad, right? Through Rasulullah, and Sharia, Islamic law. And we'll recall, of course, how the three large, prosperous Jewish tribes of the peninsula in the time of Muhammad were utterly destroyed by Muhammad and the armies of Islam. You know, when they chant up and down the streets and on campuses, I suspect on the campuses and probably the streets too, they haven't a clue what they're talking about. But this is the chant. I'm sure you'll have heard it. Khaybar o Khaybar, ya Yahud, Jaish Muhammad Sayyayud. Well, what does that actually mean? It means Khaybar o Khaybar, that's the oasis in northern Saudi Arabia today, the Arabian Peninsula, north of Mecca, north of Medina, where Jewish tribes that had previously been attacked by Muhammad took refuge. They were date palm farmers. That's what they were. But they didn't want to convert to Islam. So Khaybar o Khaybar, Ya Yahud, hey Jews, Jaish Muhammad, the army of Muhammad, Sayyayud, will return. That's what they're chanting. And what did Muhammad's army do at Khaybar? Slaughtered the peaceful Jewish date farmers of that oasis, wiped them out. So that's what they're talking about. Also, we find from the Hadiths a lot of quotes, but one of them, apparently attributed to Muhammad, maybe on his deathbed, and they say that he said, quote, "There shall not be two religions on this peninsula." And that guides Muslim Islamic doctrine down to this day. That means that the only faith, the only religion permitted on the Arabian Peninsula, according to this hadith, should be Islam. Now, side note, I think that things are changing drastically in Saudi Arabia today, tectonic plates moving even, under the leadership of the new young Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, often called MBS. But that's another story. Now, Muhammad in the Quran is repeatedly called the Ansan al-Kamil. Know what that means? It means the perfect man in Arabic. Ansan al-Kamil. Muhammad is the perfect man. And because the Quran is believed to be the literal word of God, of Allah, he must be emulated and copied in everything, including Jew hatred, jihad, child marriage, polygamy, slavery, sex slavery, the treatment of women, hudud crimes and punishments, and on down the list, right? Now, let's move forward quite a few centuries. And the Muslim Brotherhood, which was established in Cairo, Egypt, by Hassan al-Banna and other students there at the time, in 1928. That was 4 years after the secular government of Turkey that succeeded after the fall of the Ottoman Empire. This government of Turkey at that time in 1924, led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, Ataturk meaning father of the Turks, right? And he abolished the Islamic Caliphate. Absolute disaster for the Islamic world. They had had one caliphate, two caliphates fighting each other for centuries, but they had never ever been at a time without a caliphate. And so the abolition of the last caliphate was an unmitigated disaster for the Islamic world. Hassan al-Banna and the followers of him who set up the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt in 1928 were formed specifically to re-establish the caliphate by jihad. That's where the Muslim Brotherhood comes from. And so, of course, we know, of course, and we'll get to this, but Hamas is the Gaza branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. But the Muslim Brotherhood arrived in the United States, too, specifically in 1964. The founding of the Muslim Student Association. That was the very first official Muslim Brotherhood front group that's now on hundreds of campuses all over the US. You wonder where some of this anti-Semitism, this Jew hatred, the harassment, the bullying, the threatening of Jewish students on campus comes from? Muslim Student Association. It's a big part to play in that. Now, hundreds and hundreds of Muslim Brotherhood front groups followed the establishment of that first one. The Association of Muslim Jurists of America, the American Muslims for Palestine, we'll talk more about them. CARE, I'm sure you're familiar with them, Council on American Islamic Relations, which is the US branch of Hamas. ICNA, Islamic Circle of North America, ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, and so on. The list is very long. Now, Students for Justice in Palestine, which we see all over the university campuses these days, is the campus branch of the AMP, American Muslims for Palestine, a Muslim Brotherhood front group, and a founding member, by the way, of the Muslim Brotherhood's political umbrella group that was formed in 2014, and it's called the United States Council of Muslim Organizations, or USCMO. So Muslim Brotherhood, AMP, SJP, in a direct line of descent, chronologically as they were founded. Now, in 2008, you'll probably recall that the Holy Land Foundation Hamas terror funding trial concluded in 2008. But there were 200 plus unindicted co-conspirators along with the leadership of the Holy Land Foundation, which was dismantled and its leadership sent to jail, specifically for material support to Hamas. They were channeling millions of dollars to Hamas in Gaza. That's what the prosecution was about. But there were over 200 others of unindicted but named co-conspirators. If you want to find that list, Steve Emerson's got it at the Investigative Project on Terrorism, IPT. But those unindicted co-conspirators, even though the cases were teed up by the prosecutors, they were never prosecuted. Why? Because the Attorney General, Eric Holder, of the Barack Hussein Obama administration declined to prosecute. So that all just went away. The unindicted co-conspirators, as you know, included CARE and ISNA and so many others. All right, now let's fast forward to just, about a week ago. The AMP, American Muslims for Palestine, remember the parent of SJP, the Students for Justice in Palestine on campus, the AMP held its annual conference in Chicago, where else? And the CARE executive director, one of the founding members of CARE, and as a matter of fact, Hamas, Nihad Awad, was a speaker. And here's his quote, I'm happy to see the people of Gaza break the siege on October 7th. They were victorious. The people of Gaza have the right to self-defense. Well, I'm sorry, but beheading babies and murdering people, burning them alive in their homes, that's not self-defense. So right after that speech by Nihad Awad, the White House, Biden White House apparently heard it, saw it, and very quickly took steps to distance itself from CARE, issued a statement, a press statement out of the White House, saying that they condemn these shocking anti-Semitic statements in the strongest terms. Too little, too late, but I think that we have an opportunity here to take advantage of the outing, if you will, very public outing of the anti-Semitism, anti-Jew hatred of CARE and of Nihad Awad to amplify what he said, the despicable statements he gave at that conference, and then to back that up by saying, look, even the Biden White House, which earlier this year, I think it was about the summertime maybe of this year, 2023, had included CARE in a press release about the new national strategy to counter anti-Semitism. Remember that? Came out, maybe it was June or July of this year. Well, after Nihad Awad's statement at this conference, the White House just kind of very quickly and quietly deleted CARE from the fact sheet that had accompanied the press release. So steps in the right direction, and I think we need to support and amplify those. All right, Hamas. What is Hamas? The word itself is an acronym. I'm sure you probably know that. HAMAS is an acronym in Arabic, Harakat al-Muqawama al-Islamiyya, and that means in English the Islamic Resistance Movement. And as I said, it's the Gaza branch of the Muslim Brotherhood, which itself, as is Hamas, are both dedicated to jihad, as I said, to reestablish the caliphate. Now, in 1988, that's the year that Hamas was officially established by Sheikh Ahmed Yassin. And they published their covenant in that year, Hamas did. And in the very opening lines, I'm sure you've seen this too, of that covenant, it reads, quote, Israel exists and will continue to exist until Islam, not Hamas, not the Palestinians, until Islam will obliterate it as it has obliterated others before it. Right there in a sentence is the entire raison d'etre of Hamas. And the Muslim Brotherhood too, basically. Now, you may think, well, how in the world do we have Shiite Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the smaller jihad group in Gaza, fighting alongside of Sunni Hamas, backed up by Shiite Hezbollah, and the whole thing orchestrated out of Tehran and the Islamic Republic of Iran's Shiite regime? Well, it's like this. You probably have heard of the statement or the saying, you know, I against my brother and I against our cousins, we and our cousins against all the other guys. Well, that is a concept that comes out of the desert, Bedouins, and it's termed balanced opposition. In other words, at each stage of fighting, the opposition one against the other is balanced. But if you get to the macro level of that, where do we come to? We come to Dar al-Islam versus Dar al-Harb. Dar al-Islam means house of Islam, those places that already are under Islamic law, under Sharia. Dar al-Harb means house of war, and those are the places that are yet to be conquered by war, by jihad, and brought under Islamic law. And that is why you can see the Shiite regime of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Hezbollah, Hijj, all working together with Sunni Hamas, and also the Sunni jihad militias coming out of Judea and Samaria these days too. Now, again, this is not about the land. As I'm laying out to you, this is about Islamic doctrine. They are obligated, a faithful Muslim is obligated to fight for these things in one way or another. Might not be fighting with weapons, it could be speaking, teaching, training, or financing. But the point being that they believe if they do not follow these commandments of Islam, they go to hell when they die. That's what they believe. That's what they're taught. If they don't follow these commandments, they will be condemned to hell. Pretty powerful motivation, at least for some. So what I would say is that no matter the size of a Jewish state of Israel, be it the size of a postage stamp, it would not be acceptable anywhere in the region that Islam claims for its own. Now, a couple of doctrines I want to mention to you very quickly here. One is called the doctrine of sacred space, the other one, dhimitude. Sacred space. Under Islamic doctrine, any land ever conquered or occupied by Islam is forever waqf, W-A-Q-F, meaning land endowed to Islam in perpetuity. And even if they lose that land somehow over the years, they have to fight forever to get it back. Why they keep going after the Jewish state of Israel? Why no proposal for a two-state solution will ever be sufficient as long as the Jewish state of Israel remains? Why they go after the Iberian Peninsula? Why they go after the subcontinent of Asia, India, Kashmir? This is why. Sacred space. They conquered it, they occupied it over the centuries, then they lost it, they have to fight to get it back. Dhimitude. I don't know if you're familiar with this concept called the Ahla Dhimma. The Ahla Dhimma means the Dhimmi people, and it's in the Quran, and also in Islamic books of law, which I take the time to read. And it means those people who are Jewish, Christian, or otherwise not Muslim, who do not convert, but they're given a third choice that they don't have to convert and they don't have to be killed. They can choose the third way, and that is subjugation to the doctrine of Islam. And this came into being with the Medina conquest by Muhammad back in, 631 or so. And he offered them this third choice. Okay, stay Christian, stay Jewish, but you're subjugated, and here's the list of regulations you have to follow. And if you fail to follow any of them, then we can take your life. One of those obligations was the annual payment of something called the jizya, to be found in Quran verse 929. People of the book, pay the jizya with willing submission and feel yourselves subdued. You don't pay it, that's the end of you on an annual basis. And the idea of this is that there would be certain visual symbols of that subjugation. Christians and Jews under Islamic rule could not carry weapons, could not own weapons, could not ride a nice horse, but only a donkey or a mule. And by the way, do you know where that yellow star comes from that Hitler and the Nazis made the Jews wear back in the 20th century? It wasn't Hitler. It wasn't the Nazis. It was Islam. That is part of the rules of the Medina Charter, that the Jews had to wear a yellow patch. I don't know if it was a star per se, but a yellow patch of cloth on their clothing, front and back, so that Muslims could see them coming, shove them off into the muddy side of the road, abuse them, beat them, whatever they felt like doing, and the Jews could not fight back. The rules of the Charter of Medina. That's where the yellow patch came from. Christians, by the way, had to wear something blue. I'm not quite sure if it was a sash around the middle or a patch on the clothing, but for Christians, the color was blue. All right, where does the history of the word Palestine come from? This might be helpful for you. The history of the Levant, very quickly. Where did the original term come from? It comes out of the Tanakh, doesn't it? It comes out of the account of David and Goliath. Who was Goliath? You know, that David dispatched with his slingshot. Goliath was a Philistine. Who were the Philistines? The Philistines were Indo-Europeans who came to the southern littoral of the Mediterranean Sea, that is the Levant, after the end of the Trojan War. They were from the Aegean, and that's why they were called the Sea People, S-E-A, people, Sea People, after the Trojan War. They were Indo-European. They were not Semitic. They were not from the Levant at all. But they were recognized in the Tanakh as the enemies of the Israelites. Fast forward to the Roman conquest, BC, of the Jewish people in the land that was called, what was it called? Judea. It was called Judea because it was the land of the Jewish people. And from time to time, as we know, the Jewish people rose up in revolt against their Roman conquerors, and every time they lost, the Jews, the legions put the revolts down. Come to the Bar Kokhba revolt of 134, 135 AD of the current era, right? And they rose up once again. And once again, they were defeated in the Bar Kokhba revolt. But this time, the Romans said, we've had it up to here with you all, and therefore we're going to obliterate your very name from the land. And they stopped calling the Jewish province of the Roman Empire, Judea, and they started to name it Philistia. They went into the Tanakh. They knew, the Romans knew very well where that name came from and why it was in the Tanakh, why that name, the mortal enemies of the Israelites back in that time. And they started calling the land Philistia. It took away the name Judea. All right, now fast forward once again, we're zipping through history here. At the end of World War I, of course, the Ottoman Empire collapsed. I had lost the war to the Allied powers, and the remainder of the Ottoman Empire, or the leadership that remained of the Ottoman Empire, literally signed over the territories it had formerly occupied in the Levant to the League of Nations, legally signed it over. And the League of Nations in 1922 turned to the United Kingdom, turned to the British among the Allies, and gave the British mandate. The French also had a mandate that was further north, the area that is now Lebanon and Syria, but the greater part of all the Ottoman Empire territories became the British mandate, legally under the League of Nations in 1922. The task given to the British was to establish a modern day nation state for the Jewish people in that land. But what happened? The Arabs of the Arabian Peninsula, remember Lawrence of Arabia, that whole story? The Arabs had fought with the British to bring down the Ottoman Empire. And for that reason, the British were sympathetic to these Arabs, were on their side. They felt sorry for the Hashemite clan that previously had ruled over Mecca, as the Sharifs of Mecca was their title, because Ibn Saud, who gave his name to the Saudi Arabia nation, country later on, because the Hashemites had been kicked out of Mecca by Ibn Saud in intertribal fighting. But the British felt sorry for the Hashemites because they'd been their allies fighting against the Turks. So what did the British do? They violated their agreement with the League of Nations to establish a Jewish state in the entirety of the British mandate, and sliced off, I don't know if it was 2/3 or maybe even 3/4 of the British mandate, and they gave it to the Hashemites. They just said, here you go. Abdullah, the grandfather of the current King Abdullah of Jordan, and created the state the modern nation-state of Jordan, which had never existed before in history, just gave it to them, violated their agreement with the League of Nations, violated their agreement with the Jewish people. But nevertheless, the Jewish people accepted the slice of the British mandate that was left to them and said, okay, we're not happy about this, but we'll take this. The United Nations succeeded the League of Nations after World War II, of course, and accepted, the decision. But once again, because the Arabs of the area were raising a ruckus, the United Nations now talked about slicing more of the land that was supposed to be Jewish off of the original British mandate and suggested a two-state solution. Well, it's not the two-state, it's at least three-state by now, if you count Jordan and the other 21 countries of the region, but never mind. And offered the Arabs a nation, a country. The UN did this, and they offered the Jews a country. We all know what happened. The Jews said, okay, we'll take what's offered to us. We'll have our nation state. And later Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, the famous, acceptance speech in Tel Aviv, May 15th of 1948 said, yes, we hereby declare the Jewish nation state of Israel. And they accepted and they built it. And immediately, of course, you all know what happened. The day after that, literally the day after that, 5 Arab Muslim countries invaded the newly formed state of Israel, but they won. The Israelis won their war of independence, 48-49. And from that time, they saved the core of their new independent nation state, but Egypt took over Gaza and ruled it from 1949 to 1967. Jordan took over Judea and Samaria and ruled it for the same time. But did we ever in that period of time, decades, hear any clamor about, it's occupied, it's occupied. We need a second state, a two-state solution. There should be a new state in Gaza. We should have an Arab state, another one in Judea and no, not a peep about occupation, right? Why? Because of the doctrine of sacred space. Because these areas were now ruled by Muslims. There was no problem. They weren't clamoring for another state in those areas of Gaza or Judea, Samaria, because they were under Muslim rule. That's why there was no problem. Now, let's go to 1958, and we've got Yasser Arafat. By the way, you all know where Yasser Arafat was born? Cairo, Egypt. Just fun fact. He formed in 1958 Fatah, of which the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade is the military unit. Jihadis all, dedicated to the destruction of the Jewish state of Israel, legitimized, incomprehensibly to me anyway, legitimized eventually in the 1993 Oslo Accords, now called the Palestinian Authority under the rule of Abu Mazen, Mahmoud Abbas. I think he's in the, 19th year of a 4-year term or something like that. Come up to the 1967 Six-Day War, and Israel recovers in a war of defense, a war against invasion, recovered its ancestral promised land in Gaza, the Golan Heights, and Judea and Samaria. But now there's a problem. Now these lands are occupied. Why? Because they're under Jewish rule, not Islamic rule. The Arab League, remember the radio broadcasts during the 67 war, before and during, officially told Arabs, flee, get out of Judea and Samaria and Jerusalem. As their armies were invading, they were told, you can come back after the war's over. We're going to demolish the Jewish state of Israel, and you can come back afterwards and take whatever you want. That's what they said to them. And people did leave. They did flee. But Since that time, and since Israel, of course, won the war, no Arab country where they fled to has ever allowed them to settle, become legal residents or citizens. Why? Every other displaced people from time of warfare, think of the Syrians, right? All over Europe, accepted in countries all over Europe. But these never accepted as citizens or even lawful residents with a work permit. Why? To keep the grievance alive. UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Work Agency, formed to champion them on down to the umpteenth generation, completely against the international legal definition of what a refugee is. Now, Israel pulled out of Gaza officially completely in 2005. Anybody ever tries to tell you, oh, occupation, no. Officially, Israel left Gaza in 2005, and you'll all remember, I do, the images of the IDF soldiers. They didn't want to, reluctantly, against everything they wanted to do, dragging people out of their homes, out of the synagogues, and they even dug up the cemeteries and brought the bodies, the caskets of buried Jews from Gaza back to be reburied in Israel proper. In any case, next year, 2006, Hamas won the elections. 2007, they literally kicked the Palestinians out of Gaza, throwing a bunch of them off the rooftops. Remember those scenes? I don't think that the Gazan people are going to really welcome the Palestinian Authority back again after this war is over. Just my guess. Many subsequent offers followed after Hamas took over Gaza. Two-state solution, multiple times offered. All were refused by the Arabs. Why? Because they don't want two states. They only want one under Islamic rule with no Jews in it.
Claire,
comes up.
Claire, I know we're
Okay,
right with
I know.
you.
Okay, let me get to the part here. What can we do about all this? Very quickly. Know that we who hold Judeo-Christian Western values will win because our moral ethos is superior to both Marxism and Islam. Human beings don't want to be crushed under tyranny. Take the moral high ground. It's ours. Stand for civilization, not barbarism and savagery. Jews must demand respect and rights accorded to all other American ethnic groups. Educate yourselves like you're doing here today. Family, friends, your congregation, speak right, whatever opportunities you have, publications, radio, TV shows, be involved on social media, propose speakers for your shul. Thank you very much, like today. Urge your rabbis and your leadership to speak up about academic freedom on campuses, which have been so violated these days. Go to the United West, which I think I've mentioned. Our program there, unitedwest.com. Our program is called Swords of Iron, named after the IDF operation going on right now. Speak about the history that I just laid out for you. I'll send you the bullet points, the shortened part of that. Know that all Gazan Authority is Hamas. You've seen the pictures. When they're sending humanitarian aid, who takes possession? The Ministry of Health, which is Hamas, and you've seen the armed gunmen on top of those loads coming in to help the Gazan people, shooting at the Gazan people. Keep your hands off of this aid. It's for Hamas. Especially connect with the young people in your family, especially if they're in university and school. Speak to them about these things. If you're alumni of universities, write to the president, the board members, the alumni associations. Express your concerns about associations, about anti-Semitism, and if necessary, withhold donations and tell them why you're doing it. There are legal tools available to the Jewish students for violations of their rights, for the harassment, intimidation, and bullying. We can talk about that if you like, and I'll send you information about that. Just understand finally, until the schools are fixed in this country, our Judeo-Christian based society will remain under attack. Woke ideology will not be easy to dislodge, but that's where we need to begin. Speak honestly, learn truth, and learn how to respond to anti-Semitism and Jew hatred. Thank you. Sorry for going overtime.
We appreciate you taking the time and coming here on Zoom and informing us of all of this major information. And can you hear me?
Barely. It's very sort of muffled for me. Maybe.
Okay. We really appreciate you coming here.
Oh, thank you.
And talking to us and informing us. But one of the things, and I must say that the question and answer period will start now. And if people have to leave at 2:00, because as we always say, we go from 1 to 2, please feel free to leave. If not, we are here to answer the questions.
Yeah, I'll stay. I'll stay. No problem.
So, is there anybody here, is there anybody online? Because that's one of the things with Zoom. Has anybody raised their hand to ask any questions?
Some post in
I have a comment.
Marlene, it's Janet. I have one.
Here's one.
That's her
Marlene.
website.
All right. Okay. Unmute.
Who has a question?
I
Who has the
do.
question?
It's Janet.
Hi, Janet.
Oh, okay.
Claire, how are you? That was
Great to see you here again, at least virtually.
It was an amazing conversation. You know, I'm amazed at the depth of your knowledge as always, but what I want to understand is the degree of acceptance around America of the Muslim Brotherhood's efforts, of the anti-Israel efforts, and not just on college campuses, but in our own State Department, in our State Department. I mean, do they understand what you just said to us, which is basically, then how can they run the State Department? These people don't accept that we have any legitimate right to exist as anything other than a Muslim follower. So,
you know, if we put those words to them, they would say, and they have, Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, you know, has said, we support the right of the Jewish state of Israel to exist. Yes, they'll say that. But then they turn around and allow the Muslim Brotherhood free reign all over America, as we said, on campuses, academia, media, etc. Do nothing to curb their influence at the State Department, at our intelligence community, or anywhere else. And they turn around and try to get the Israeli leadership to hurry up, finish this military operation, even if it means Hamas gets to survive. Those things don't comport. They don't go together.
Question here, Steve.
Okay, first, just a matter of linguistics. You talked about the etymology of Palestine. Well, there's an alternative understanding even among academics that it's what they call in linguistics a colloq, that you would see already in Septuagint, a version of a direct translation to the Greek from Israel, translated as wrestlers of God. We know palestra, palaster in Greek means to wrestle. So Palestine was a direct translation of Israel into pre-Koine Greek, made its way into the Septuagint.
Yeah, again, coming from the Greeks, from the Aegean, not right. The Levant.
But not from Philistia, not from Philistia. In any case, my question is about legal resources for students online on campuses. You made mention of it. I think it's a key avenue, and I know we've heard about certain small groups of students engaging in lawsuits against their colleges. But what can we tell our university students about where they can go?
Let me put this resource in the chat room here. Let me type it out real quick here. It comes from the Jewish News Syndicate, jns.org, defending the, it's an excellent article, right of Jewish students a, oops, legal primer. Okay, I think I typed that right, but take a look in the chat. That's where I got this information from. And although I'm not a legal scholar myself, it seemed very informative. That article with the resources that were cited in that article from JNS, and you might want to take a look there. I think it's very good.
Oh, wait a second. You have to just think that they need to.
What happened between after 6 Day War and 2005? Why would you give up Gaza back to Palestinians?
I didn't quite catch.
Repeat the question.
If you could
What
repeat.
happened in Gaza between 1940 between 6 Day War and 2005? Between 6 Day War.
All right, she's basically asking after the 6 Day War.
After the 6 Day War, Israel retook possession of the Gaza Strip, as well as, of course, we know the Sinai Peninsula, which was later given back to Egypt in their peace treaty of 1978. But Gaza has changed hands multiple times. I mean, it's originally, promised land to Israel in the Tanakh, but has changed hands and been fought over for many centuries. And yeah, it was taken over by the Egyptians in the War of Independence, 48-49. They ruled it until 67, and then the IDF conquered it back. And by the way, when a country takes back or takes land in a war of defense against military aggression, that country defending itself is legally, under international law, allowed to keep that land. Think back to World War I, think back to World War II. How much territory did the losing German side have to cede to other places like Poland, like France, and so forth? That is international law.
But why we give up Gaza? Why did we give Gaza back?
Well, that was Ariel Sharon's decision, his government. Probably one of the biggest mistakes. I think that, governments since then would agree that Israel's ever made. But that was Ariel Sharon's decision. He and the leadership at the time, and I think others, within the Israeli government and among the people, believe that, well, it was about land. And if they would just, give over some land, everything would be fine, and they'd be satisfied, and then everybody could live in peace. They really thought that. But time and again, it's proven not to be true at all.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, Elaine Miller has a question for you.
Okay.
Claire, we met a couple years ago. Excellent presentation. My question is about the Ukraine.
Yeah.
What effect is the conflict? What effect does the conflict, if you have an opinion as to it, the effect of the war in Ukraine have on the Middle East?
Well, it's pretty complicated, as you can well imagine. But first thing I'll say is I see a complete parallel between one military invading a neighboring country in a war of aggression, and that country fighting back. And we, the United States, under the Biden administration, have supported both the Ukrainians and of course the Israelis too. It has caused complications at the international level, as well as the funding level. U.S. Congress, for example, funding our assistance to both at the same time. But you probably saw that very recently, it's within the last couple of days, that Vladimir Putin had a phone conversation with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And, after that, probably went straight away to the mullahs and told them what they talked about. But because Israel has had a kind of an MO, a modus operandi with Russia up in Syria, where the Russians do not use their air defense system against Israeli IAF, taking out Hezbollah or Quds Force, IRGC, Iranian, um, weapons depots, ammunition transfers, the transfer of upgrade kits for their missiles, the precision guidance systems. Russia has held back from doing that. And so it was a kind of a delicate arrangement for Israel on its northern border to preserve that modus operandi with Russia so that it could continue, to take out these weapons depots and bases and so forth. And so I think probably that got clarified in that phone call between Putin and Bibi. And then I expect the Iranians got informed too. But I mean, you see how the region is all drawn into this, and also further afield to Ukraine, which has wanted Israel to provide more direct and actually military assistance to it, whereas up until now, and I think continuing now, continues, Israel has provided Ukraine with humanitarian aid of all kinds, a lot of it. I don't know if that's what you were getting at, perhaps?
My question, I think, yes, but also, we don't know exactly how this is going to play out in the Ukraine. And I'm wondering if Putin wins, which in my opinion, it seems like he's going to, because all this American popular opinion seems to think, because of the economy, we're just throwing away billion after billion after billion. I'm wondering if they do, will they at all pressure the Arabs to make a peace with Israel? Russia.
In fact, Putin apparently, in a statement I just saw, I think like today, actually did issue a public statement urging Hamas, in any case, to release the hostages, that part of it. Putin, the Kremlin, have issued a public statement, I think it's today, maybe yesterday, urging Hamas to release the remaining hostages. So there's that part of it. As far as Ukraine, Russia cannot win. Its military has been absolutely mauled over these past 2 years. Degraded. They've lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of casualties. In this attempt to take over Ukraine. But because of the steadfast assistance of the United States and of other countries in Europe, in particular, other NATO countries, which know perfectly well that they're next if Ukraine falls, because Putin has absolutely said they're next on multiple occasions. That's his objective, to reestablish the Russian Empire. It's all in English online. His speeches repeat this over and over again. So they know they're next. And so they're not going to stop assisting to the best of their ability. And by the way, when people talk about the level of assistance being given to Ukraine, if you look up the data on assistance to Ukraine by GDP, you know where the United States comes in? Number 13. Per GDP, many countries of Europe, in particular the Baltics, Hungary, Poland, are way ahead of us. Percentage of GDP assistance to Ukraine. So No, I don't think Ukraine is going to fall. The people of Ukraine will fight with pitchforks if they have to, but they're not going to let their nation state be torn apart by the Russian aggressor again, ever again.
Well, we'd like to thank you so much for all the information, for participating in this. I'd like to thank you, everybody who came through the rain and everybody watching on Zoom. We really appreciate the information, and I'm Yisroa.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Sorry if I've kept you a little bit late, but thank you for remaining through to the Q&A and for taking in all this information. Again, I will try to get this all down on a one-pager of bullet points, just sort of headers of the topics we discussed. And then also I have a list of resources that I will add. So that's 2 pages that I will try to get to you guys not later than this coming weekend. So thank you again very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Again.
See you next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Are you gonna publish the points?
Yes, we'll get it on the board.